Thank you. Thank you so much, Mo. President Crutcher, distinguished faculty, administration, graduates, students, family, friends, guests. I am truly honored and humbled to serve as your commencement speaker. I was saying to President Crutcher as we were walking up the aisle, every time I hear that processional song, I get tears in my eyes. I just love it, and I love the meaning and the tradition of these types of events. So I am very flattered and honored to be here. I'd first like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the class of 2019. This is a wonderful celebration of your accomplishments. When President Crutcher and I talked about the class, I asked him to describe the class of 2019 to me, and he said you were such a special class for him because you were his first class. He described you as warm, inviting, curious, determined, and hardworking. Almost all of you. So I think it's incredibly poetic that it's Mother's Day. As the mother of 6 college graduates, 5 in 1 year, yes, with my husband in the audience over there, we have a sense of the support and sacrifices it took to get you here today. As a mother and as a parent, one of the things that I realize is that these moments of recognition don't happen that often. It's nice to have them every now and again, but it's not what fuels us as parents. What fuels us is our unconditional love that we have for our child and for our child's well-being. Frankly, being a parent is really, really hard work, and not one where they dole out awards. But we love what we're doing it for. It's not at all about the recognition and credit. And the reason that I share that insight with you today is because you're truly crossing into a threshold or over the threshold between a life that was completely measured with credits that you needed for your major and your minor and to get you to the University of Richmond, credits to graduate. You are moving into the real world of adulthood where very little of that will ever matter again, as is the case with parenthood. There's no prescribed syllabus for adulthood, no grades, few awards, no graduation from one stage to the next. From here on out, it's up to you. And since I'm the advanced person who's been chosen to bestow a bit of wisdom on this special day, I'd like to talk to you about 2 very simple ideas that have helped me find my way forward into and through adulthood. 2 ideas captured by 2 of my most favorite quotes. The first one has to do with this notion of credit that I was just addressing. And the quote is from my father's favorite United States president, Harry S. Truman. And the quote is this: "You can accomplish anything in life provided you don't mind who gets the credit." You can accomplish anything in life provided you don't mind who gets the credit. So hold that thought about getting credit, because we're going to come back to it. And let me start instead with the second idea, which is about inner genius, an idea summarized best by Einstein when he said, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its whole life believing it's stupid." This is a very compelling notion, the idea that every single person has an inner genius. Many cultures, especially the ancient Romans, believed in this idea, and it's something that I have come to deeply believe as well. I believe Every single one of you has an inner genius. Every single one of you. You might not know what it is yet, but I truly believe it's there, and it's your mission to figure it out. Growing up, I wouldn't have told you that I was a genius, and here's why. I was frequently referred to as stupid by my family. One family member, who shall remain nameless because it is Mother's Day after all, would frequently say to me, "Nancy, you are such a dumb blonde. Let's hope you find someone to marry you one day to take care of you." But despite being told that I was stupid and dumb, I still had a spirit that burned bright inside of me. I would have never called myself smart, but I was adventurous and I was curious. And as a kid growing up in the Midwest, I spent hours in the library sprawled on the linoleum floor with books spread all around me, books about faraway places, people, and culture. Anything and everything far away from Columbus, Ohio. I dreamt about being out in the world with those people. So later on, right after college, when I was in a position not too different than the one you're sitting in today, I had a chance opportunity to start my own business with a little-known tech company as my first client, a startup that promised to democratize access to the world's information with a newfangled device called the personal computer. I was hooked. In fact, I'd call it love. I loved this little startup, Apple. I loved the unknown young guy who had founded it, Steve Jobs. I loved the mission of one person, one computer, at a point in history where computers were kept in clean rooms away from people. I wasn't an engineer, I wasn't technical, I was a journalism major, I was a writer who seemed to have an ability to connect dots and connect with people. But it was through a chance meeting I found a way to be a part of the personal computer revolution. I truly believed in the promise of technology for the betterment of the world. I worked on the launch of the first Macintosh computer, the introduction of desktop publishing, and virtually every product Apple launched for the next 20 years. It was in doing this work that I fully embodied my inner genius, my passion for and curiosity about the promise of technology to change the world. I also came to understand fully that first idea about getting credit. In 1994, 10 years after the board had driven Steve Jobs out of his own company, Apple's leadership was running the business into the ground and running out of options. I was asked to participate in a strategic planning meeting to discuss how the company was going to survive the launch of Microsoft's Windows 95 product. I stood up in that meeting and I said, "I believe there's only one thing that will save this company. Bring back Steve Jobs." The idea gained traction inside the business. I'm sure I wasn't the only person who thought about it, and I wasn't part of the details. But it didn't matter, because 2 years later, Steve Jobs returned. I didn't care if it was because of what I had said. I cared because he was back where he belonged. You can accomplish anything in life as long as you don't mind who gets the credit. Of course, Apple is known for its incredible technology, but let me tell you something else it should also be known for. A word I guarantee you didn't think you were going to hear at today's commencement speech: tampons. On my first trip to Apple's corporate headquarters in 1982, I walked into the women's restroom and I saw tampons and pads on the counter for everyone to access. And I thought to myself, it was the first time I had ever seen that, and I thought, why isn't every bathroom like this? It's the same thing as toilet paper. We don't carry toilet paper with us. Why don't we have these items in our restrooms? So I immediately stocked my own business with these items, and I started advocating for other business owners to follow along. I convinced my children's school to adopt a policy of taking menstrual products out of the nurse's office and putting them into the restrooms where they belonged. And the more I thought about the inequity of the situation, the more I wanted to do something about it. So in 2013, I launched a nonprofit advocacy group called Free the Tampons. It was a URL that my husband, who's here, named in honor of my 50th birthday. Because I said, I want to attack this. And it was his way of putting his hand on my back and saying, you go, girl. I gave a TEDx talk, that was interesting, which helped spark an interest in the movement. We've been featured in the New York Times, CNN, NPR, last week the Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, many other press outlets. It's inspired airports, schools, restaurants, convention centers, shopping malls. Many college campuses are now providing these items in their restrooms. And I'm very proud to say that the University of Richmond will be rolling out a pilot program come this fall. So we didn't stop there. I helped New York City launch a pilot program in 5 urban high schools. The pilot demonstrated that just by offering these products in the restroom, it increased attendance by 2.4%. 2.4%. The following summer, the New York City Council passed unanimous legislation requiring all New York City schools provide these items in them. Then the state of New York followed suit, then the state of California followed suit, then the state of Illinois followed suit, and last week, the state of New Hampshire followed suit. This policy has affected thousands of school children, and I don't care if my name is on a piece of legislation. It isn't the Nancy Kramer tampon bill. This is about no one being subjected to a feeling of panic when they reach for an item in their bag and they come up empty. Or even worse, skip school, skip work, skip out on life because they don't have access to what they need. You can accomplish anything in life, provided you don't mind who gets the credit. 3 years ago, I decided it was time to write the next chapter for the business that I had founded with Apple as my first client. We decided to join IBM, much to my surprise. But in IBM, I discovered a values-driven founders culture that serves the world's businesses in very profound ways, with the world's largest population of designers, technologists, mathematicians, and the recipient of more patents than any other company on the planet for the past 25 years. It has an incredibly rich history of progressive people practices, from hiring their first African American associate in 1899 to their first disabled person in 1914, to establishing equal pay for equal work for women in 1933, a sexual non-discrimination policy in the 1980s, reimbursement for transgender reconstructive surgery in 2002. And on March 1st of this year, I am happy and proud to share that IBM introduced its latest progressive people practice, the new menstrual support policy, making supplies freely accessible for nearly 400,000 associates in 170 countries. If you had asked me at 22 what my unique genius was, I never would have been able to tell you. I grew up believing I was stupid. It took a lot of therapy and a variety of experiences for me to gain confidence and overcome the belief that I was dumb and begin to embrace my inner genius. Really, truly, I had my business for nearly 20 years before I could sincerely refer to myself as smart. I've only been able to learn about myself by pursuing work that I love so deeply that I don't care if I get the credit. Tenacity, emotional intelligence, creativity, energy, love, curiosity, purpose, these are the things that matter to me and the things that will matter to you in this next chapter you're stepping into. In closing, today, class of 2019, we honor your incredible accomplishment. We give you credit. And as you move into post-college life, I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people asking you, what are you going to do next? And the truth is, I'm sure you're going to do a lot of things next. But to me, the real question is, what genius will you bring? What energy? What conviction? What creativity? It's not what you're going to get out of what you do next. It is what you give to it that matters most. What do you love so much you don't care if you get any credit for getting it done? Because that will be the thing to unleash your deep inner genius. You can accomplish anything in life, provided that you don't mind who gets the credit. Amen, Harry Truman. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for your thoughtful and inspiring address. I'd now like to invite Associate Provost Sanya Yorman to the stage. And Ms. Kramer, would you join us again? Ladies and gentlemen, I present for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, Nancy Kramer. As the university continues its own work to educate new generations of engaged citizens and leaders prepared to make a meaningful difference in the world, we are pleased to recognize your extraordinary leadership and enduring contributions to society. By virtue of the authority bestowed to me by the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you, Nancy Kramer, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.